Good evening. It's 6:30. Members of council are assembled when you're ready to begin.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order this regular council meeting focused on planning matters for Monday, August 25th, 2025. Welcome all members, everyone in the gallery, everyone watching us via the live stream this evening. We're glad everybody's with us. Second item on the agenda is the land acknowledgement, and Councillor Grace has that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which consists of the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nation. We understand this land holds immense significance to the people of Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. We appreciate those who live and work alongside us today and who continue the traditions of their ancestors as stewards of the land we are privileged to inhabit. We thank them for the contributions they have made in both caring for the land and in shaping this community. We commit to truth and reconciliation, to acknowledging the truth about what happened to Indigenous peoples because of colonization, and to reconciliation, which begins with each and every one of us. As a local government and public organization, we are dedicated to learning about Indigenous culture, to fostering a better relationship with First Nations and their people, and we commit ourselves to actions that move us forward on a path to healing along with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation.
Thank you. Third item on the agenda is disclosures of pecuniary interest. Any member have one of those they'd like to declare at this time? Seeing none, of course, you can do that anytime if you need to. Item 4 is additions, deletions, and amendments, and we do have one proposed amendment to the agenda. And so the recommendation is that item 6.2, zoning bylaw amendment Z-2025-017 for Getz, planning report and site plan be replaced with the amended planning report and amended site plan, and that item 12.2, bylaw 80-2025 be replaced with the amended bylaw 80-2025. Is there a mover and seconder for the amendment? Halpin and the Vice Deputy Mayor. Any questions? If not, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, so now we're on to our public meetings, and we do have 3 public meetings on the agenda. So we'll start with the first one, and next on the agenda is a public meeting for file zoning bylaw amendment Z-2025-012 for Riker. This is a public meeting under the Planning Act. If anyone from the public is interested in this application or wishes to receive a notice of the decision, please send an email to bcplpe@brucecounty.on.ca. First, we will receive a report from the planning staff. Then council members will have an opportunity to ask questions, and I will ask them to reserve their comments on the application until we have heard from the public. Then we will hear from the public who are here in person, virtually, or who have submitted correspondence to the email address cited above. Members of the public are advised that the right to appeal the decision on this application is limited to specified persons and public bodies as defined in the Planning Act, or the owner or applicant of the land subject to the amendment, who have provided oral or written comments to council on the application before the decision is made. After we've heard from the public, council will discuss and consider a recommendation on this application. So I will now declare the public meeting open, and I will ask the planner on the file to present the application. And this one is from Jake Boasfield-Estado.
Thank you.
No, it is not. I thought he was coming on. It's from you.
It's from me. Thank you. Through you, Mayor Carbonneau. Jake is on vacation this week, so I will be presenting this application on his behalf. So the applicant is looking to reduce the minimum lot size on this agricultural or non-farm lot in the agricultural zone. The current property is just over 2 hectares, and they are looking to reduce the size of that non-farm lot to 1.8 hectares. My colleague Julie has put the site plan on the screen for you. What this zoning bylaw amendment would do in terms of reducing the lot size of the property would allow for a portion of the property to be transferred to the adjacent landowners, which is the Port Elgin Sportsman's Club. They are looking to relocate the existing driveway to the Sportsman's Club property, which is currently being impacted by erosion from Mill Creek. So they would be shifting that driveway further to the south. And there is an associated consent application and an easement that will be considered by the county at a later date. We did not receive any comments from the public on this application, and staff are recommending approval on the basis that the lot size, even though reduced from what it was or what it is currently, still complies with the county official plan, which allows for a lot size between 0.4 and 4 hectares. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll now hear from members of the public. And to begin, we'll ask the applicant or their agent to present. And mic is yours. Make sure to introduce yourself.
Thank you. Good evening, folks. My name is Ron Davidson. I'm a planning consultant, and I'm here representing actually the Port Elgin Sportsman Club. And specifically with me tonight is Howard Magna. Howard and his group are proposing to buy a little bit of land from their next door neighbor. There's not much to this in terms of what needs to be explained. As Karina said, the driveway that's currently located on the property is falling victim to erosion. And if they don't move the driveway soon, it's going to fall into the little water course, and that's not good. So there's quite a bit of work that went into this. Through pre-consultation, the county asked us to do a survey so we know exactly where the boundaries of the property are. And so Howard had that done. Same time, we were told from Saugeen Ojibwe Nation that an archaeological assessment would be required. So one was done for both the severed and the retained parcel, and Saugeen is happy with that. The Conservation Authority has advised that we will need to speak to them after everything has been approved at this end because it's within a regulated area. So once Sportsman Club actually owns the land, they will hire an engineering firm to take care of that. That's about it. Again, it's a very straightforward application. If it doesn't get approved, I guess the road caves in, and that wouldn't be good. That's it for my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone from the public here to speak in support of the application or with questions, concerns, or objections to the application? I'll ask one more time. Anybody wish to speak from the public? Anybody joining us online, or are there any written submissions that were not already discussed in the planning report, presentation, or oral submissions? I'm hearing a no to that. So then I will ask if any council members have any questions before we close the public meeting and discuss the application and resolution on the application. Don't see any desire for that. No one from the public. So I will now declare the public meeting to be closed, and I'll read the resolution. And the resolution is that, subject to a review of the submissions arising from the public meeting, that council approves zoning bylaw amendment Z 2025-012 for Riker and bylaw 79-2025. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by the deputy mayor, second by Halpin. Questions or comments to the resolution? Seeing none. Oh, Councillor Halpin.
Thank you. And through you, I just wanted to say this is just an example of good neighbors working together, and this is a very easy thing to support.
Yeah, I think it's going to sail through here. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, so now we're on to our second public meeting. Just reset here. Public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment Z-2025-017 for Getz. This is a public meeting under the Planning Act. If anyone from the public is interested in this application or wishes to receive a notice of the decision, please send an email to bcplpe@brucecounty.on.ca. First, we will receive a report from the planning staff. Then council members will have an opportunity to ask questions, and I will ask them to reserve their comments on the application until we've heard from the public. Then we will hear from the public who are here in person, virtually, or who have submitted correspondence to the email address referenced above. Members of the public are advised that the right to appeal the decision on this application is limited to specified persons and public bodies as defined in the Planning Act, or the owner or applicant of the land subject to the amendment who have provided oral or written comments to council on the application before the decision is made. After we have heard from the public, council will discuss and consider a recommendation on this application. So I'll now declare the public meeting to be open, and I'll ask the planner on the file to present the application. And this time it's Julie Steeper, I think. Yes. Julie's here. Hello, Julie. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Before I begin this evening, I would like to note there has been an updated report and bylaw provided since my initial submission to reflect the most current site plan provided by the applicant. The purpose of the application this evening is to rezone the lands from residential second density to residential fourth density, with special provisions to permit a residential building containing 6 townhouse units. The rezoning would permit a reduced lot area, lot frontage, interior side yard setback, and rear yard setback. The rezoning would also recognize an increase to the maximum number of driveways and maximum driveway coverage in the exterior side yard. Holding provisions are proposed, requiring a preparation of an archaeological assessment and a stormwater management report prior to development. If approved, the effect of the proposed amendments will facilitate the development of a 3-story, 6-unit townhouse building located at 791 Market Street. The property is located north of Gustavus Street, south of River Street, and west of Eastwood Drive. The site is surrounded by residential uses. Currently, the site is vacant. The applicant demolished the existing single detached dwelling. Each unit of the proposed will have its own attached garage and consist of 3 bedrooms on the 2nd and 3rd floors. The site is a corner lot and has immediate access to Market Street. The applicant is proposing individual driveways for each unit, which requires Ruby Street to be extended. And the applicant is going to construct the road within the existing road allowance from Market Street to River Street. Comments from the town were received requesting an additional holding provision be applied to the property that requires the construction of Ruby Street to the satisfaction of the town. The holding provision has been added to the bylaw. The proposal will connect to full municipal services, and this supports the efficient use of land and infrastructure. The applicant is requesting relief respecting the minimum lot size and lot frontage. The subject lands are approximately 810 square meters with a frontage of 20 meters. However, the site would require an additional 230 square meters of lot area and an additional 10 meters of lot frontage. The property has frontage of 20 meters along Market Street. Once Ruby Street is constructed, it will extend past the development and will provide additional frontage for each unit. The building is proposed to be oriented along Ruby Street, which fulfills the intent of lot frontage. The existing lot frontage and area on this property is considered suitable for the scale of development proposed. Allowing relief from the minimum lot area and frontage requirements are appropriate for this project. The applicant is also requesting a reduction to the minimum rear yard setback. The rear yard setback would be the setback in relation to the adjacent residential property to the north. The purpose of the rear yard setback is to ensure sufficient amenity space and to provide separation between buildings. The zoning bylaw requires a minimum rear yard setback of 7.5 meters, whereas the applicant is proposing 2.2 meters. And the applicant is requesting 5.3 meters in relief. Placing the structure into the required rear yard setback maintains the site visibility triangle at the corner of Ruby and Market Street at the front of the property. There is an unopened lane at the rear of the property, which provides additional separation. It is not anticipated allowing for a reduced minimum rear yard would result in any impacts to surrounding properties to use your property for permitted uses. The zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard setback of 5 meters. The applicant is requesting 4.6 and is seeking relief for 0.4 meters. The purpose of the side yard setback is to ensure there's enough permeable surfaces maintained to allow for drainage and green landscaping. The applicant is exceeding landscaped open space requirements, and the proposed structure will exceed the exterior side yard setback. The proposed building footprint is proposed to be 42% in lot coverage, and the maximum lot coverage permitted is 45%. Given these considerations, staff are satisfied that the proposed setback would be reasonable in nature to allow. It should be noted the applicant is proposing to provide a privacy fence along the west and north sides of the property boundaries. And the applicant is requesting relief regarding coverage of driveways and number of driveways. The zoning bylaw does not allow for more than 40% of the area of a front yard or an exterior side yard to be devoted to parking areas. The applicant is seeking a coverage of 44.8%. The sizes of the driveways are appropriate to meet parking requirements. There are 2 spaces for each residential unit, one within the garage and one within the driveway, for a total of 12 parking spaces. The development meets the parking requirements. The applicant has demonstrated the subject property is large enough to accommodate the required parking. A holding provision requiring a stormwater management report for the subject property is proposed. This approach would implement official plan policies. No comments of concern were received from the town, and final stormwater management design will be confirmed through the detailed design of the development. A stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment has been provided, and the ministry has accepted and registered the assessment. A hold is included in the bylaw as we have not received confirmation from SON. This implements provincial and official plan policies. No comments of concern were received from agencies or the public, and this concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll hear from members of the public, and first the applicant or their agent, and see the agent for the applicant. Please state your name.
Yes, good evening again, folks, and I'm still Ron Davidson, and I'm representing Nick Getz, who owns the property. As you heard from Julie, Nick is proposing to erect 6 townhouses on the property. The units will be rentals. And in order to do that, Ruby Street must be constructed from Market Street all the way to River Street. So it's basically twice the length of Nick's property that the street has to be constructed. That will make the project expensive, but still economically viable if he's able to build 6 townhouses. There's a lot of work that went into this project. There's quite a bit of pre-consultation that occurred with town staff and county staff prior to filing the application, and I should say that was sincerely appreciated. And we also spoke with SON. An archaeological assessment was conducted of note, not only for the subject property, but for the town property as well. And we took out, I should say Nick, took out the proper paperwork and got approval from town staff before he had the archaeological firm conduct the work on town property. Thought I should point that out. This proposal lines up great with the county official plan and the town's official plan. You don't need to hear this from me. I'm sure you've heard this many, many times. Your official plan encourages infilling, and that's exactly what this is. It's also a medium density form of housing, which again is something that is endorsed in the town. I've heard in this council chambers with my own 2 ears before that the town doesn't need any more single family dwelling. They need medium density housing. And that's exactly what this is. As I mentioned, there'll be rentals, and that's something else that's, I know, an issue in town here. There is a dire need for more rental housing. So this should add 6 more units to the housing market, which is great. So the provincial planning statement is very similar to the county and the local official plan in the sense that it promotes development in the designated settlement areas and requires development to be fully serviced where full services are available. And the PPS encourages infilling, intensification, and the efficient use of municipal restructuring. It also encourages a variety of housing types and densities and strongly promotes rental housing. And lastly, the PPS protects areas of archaeological significance, and this isn't one of them. Like I said, an assessment was done and they found nothing. Yes, it requires some relief from the zoning bylaw. Julie went through that. I'm not going to go through all the points, but I should mention a couple. The rear yard on paper may sound like quite a drop from 7.5 meters to 2.25 meters. But when you see the way the property is oriented, you'll see that the rear yard, for all intents and purposes, is really a side yard. It's at the very north end of the property. And if Nick decided, which he's not going to do, but if he decided to cut the lots, sever the lots, so they're all facing the new street, that what is now the rear yard would actually be an interior side yard, and we'd only need 1.2 meters, and we're proposing 2.25. I'll call it a technicality. And the other thing I'd like to mention about the relief that's required has to do with the amount of frontage that can be covered with the driveway. It's impossible to meet the zoning bylaw if you're having a smaller width, and I would respectfully suggest the next time you update your bylaw, you take a little bit closer look at it. For example, your bylaw allows for a frontage of as small as 4.5 meters. If you tried to cover only 40% of that 4.5 meters, you would have a driveway of 2.14 meters wide, so about 6 or 7 feet. That can't be done. So That's why we need relief, and just a suggestion, maybe, your bylaw is awesome in the sense that it's really allowing for more intensification. It just needs to be tweaked, so maybe we don't need provisions like this in the future. That's it for my presentation. If there are any questions for me or for Nick, we'd be happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. All right, so I'll ask if there's anyone from the public here to speak in support or with questions, concerns, or objections to the application. I do have one person on my list. So I'll start with him. It's Kenton Arbuckle. So Kenton, yeah, if you're ready, come on up and come to the mic, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, my only concern has to do just with privacy, with moving these units super close or closer to the northern property. And I believe there's an exterior deck being built on a second story. Just, I don't know how a 6-foot fence is really doing much for privacy in terms of that northern property. That's pretty much my only concern. I don't know if a row of cedars or something could be discussed or anything, but.
Okay, great. Thank you for raising that. Are there other members of the public who wish to speak either in support of the application or with questions or concerns or objections? Is there anyone joining us online, or are there any other written submissions that have not already been discussed in the planning report?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, there is nobody else online, and there were no additional written submissions.
Okay. So then I'll ask if any council members have questions before we close the public meeting and discuss the application. Start with the deputy mayor.
Thank you, and through you. And this is for Julie. One of the pictures that you provided in your report appears to have a utility pole in it. There's no issue with a utility corridor through there that we should be aware of, is there?
No, I don't believe so. I believe that's in the road right away. Actually not on the property.
Okay, and then I'm confused about side yards and rear yards, and I thought I understood, and then Mr. Davidson said a few things, and now I'm just not too sure. The front of these units would face Ruby Street, so that becomes the front yard. So the rear yard is, you're shaking your head no.
Well, the front of the units will be along Ruby. However, based off the definition of the bylaw, Market Street will be considered the front yard.
Okay.
The front yard setback.
Okay. That seems very strange to me, but anyway, so the space then behind these units, so I'm thinking, even though there's no directional markers on the map, that would be the rear of the townhouses then. So the front would be where the driveways are, then the rear. That's the space that's going to be about 2.2 meters in depth. Is that correct?
Nope. So the rear in this case would be the 2.25 meters that's next to the lane. So typically, if you were to build a house, you would see it front onto Market. In this case, yes, with this development, it's being rotated. And technically, this is, I think, where Ron was speaking. The front of the units will actually face Ruby Street. However, based off the definitions in the bylaw, the front yard setback is from Market Street to the what's considered now the side of the unit. And then the rear would be considered the rear yard setback from the unopened lane to the other side of the units. I know in this case it seems a little weird because the development is rotated towards Ruby Street, but that Ruby Street setback to the units is actually the exterior side yard setback.
So if we didn't have this proposal before us, somebody who wanted to just build a single house on that property, the front yard would be off Market Street because Ruby Street wouldn't be there. But if Ruby Street was constructed, they can choose which becomes the front yard, Ruby or Market Street. Anyway, I'm just, you mentioned now that I understand what the rear yard is that we're talking about, you said that part of the opportunity there was because there was an unopened road allowance there that would, enable, I guess, a little more spatial sort of situation. But then it was mentioned that there would be a fence constructed at the property line through there. So that doesn't provide any real opportunity for amenity space for the folks that would be renting these units, because you've got literally about 6 or so feet there of open space. And then the units towards the back, that's less than 2 meters. And it just seems to me like, I think it's a interesting idea to have multis built in various locations, but I just want to speak up on behalf of people and say space around where they live is still very important, and it seems like it's shrinking. And I guess understanding the front yards and side yards and exterior side yards and rear yards, I'm confused, because why is Market Street the front yard when the actual entrance is off of Ruby Street? But thank you for the answers.
Okay, thank you. Are there further questions? We'll go to Councillor Grace and then help.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one spelling concern. I mean, just to be precise, I think it's referred to as the site visibility triangle, and it's spelled in the report SITE, when I think it should be SIGHT. It's not in the bylaw, I don't think. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Would the proponent be open to the idea of providing more shelter for the people in the backyard? Because this is going to be a 3-story building, and it is quite overlooking the other property. And despite, like, I understand how Market Street is the front street. I've built in corner lots and everything before. However, everyone's backyard is going to be looking over, and everyone's deck is going to be overlooking the neighbors. And a privacy fence will help for the first floor. And I know if you plant trees, it's going to take a while. But anyways, are you open to providing more screening or more buffer zone for the neighbors? Thank you.
We can ask the agent for the applicant to address that question or the applicant.
Yeah, I'll let the Nick.
Right, the applicant himself will come up and speak to it. Just make sure to give us your name for the record.
Nicholas Getz, the owner of Market Street. Yeah, we could provide whatever it takes for more buffer there, whether trees or whatever we need to do for sure. I know the lady there that is in that yard there where that's facing there, she had actually was we were talking with her actually about, she eventually did want to sell that place too, and we were thinking about something there too whenever she did want to sell, but that's, who knows, down the road or whatever. But we're more than happy to definitely provide some sort of buffer there, whether it's a higher fence too. I know that's not going to reach that high, obviously, right? But we could maybe try to come up with something for sure. Like landscaping, obviously, is something we're going to be doing for sure. But we can maybe get some taller trees right away and make them grow so that they grow higher too. So anything I'm sure would help for sure.
Okay, Councillor Mayat, and then Stack.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Just further along the line of questioning that the deputy mayor came up with, if they're all going to be residents or addresses on Market Street, are they going to be just like 791-1, 791-2? Is that going to be like their mailing address all the way through to 6? Instead of making them addresses on Ruby Street?
We'll turn that over to Candace Ham.
There we go. Thank you, through you, Mayor Charbonneau. While the bylaw specifies what needs to be the front yard, that doesn't necessarily mean that the addressing has to coincide with the definitions of the bylaw. So they can have Ruby Street addresses. They aren't required to have Market Street addresses regardless of the definition in the bylaw.
So the bylaw is just for the purposes of planning and orientation, but once they're built, they'll be numbered onto Ruby Street, is what you imagine.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
I had another question and it's escaping me right now. I'll let it go. Thanks.
Councillor Stack.
Yeah, I think we've had we seem to have quite a few of these similar requests coming to council. So I'm just wondering if we're making exceptions to the bylaw every other development request. I think we either have to make a couple of things. I'd like to see if it's possible, something that tells council whether we've approved a similar exemption request in the past, or a discussion at some point about whether we need to revise the bylaws, because people make decisions on property, like procurement of property, where they want to live, how they want to design their homes, on the basis that there are certain expectations for planning purposes. And then we seem to make these exceptions pretty regularly. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, but it just begs the question, if we're kind of carving out exceptions and exemptions fairly regularly, do we need to review the bylaws? Because it strikes me as we're not enforcing them, we're regularly replacing them. So I think that merits some discussion.
Might turn that over to the director to comment too.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it would be fair to have discussions with our county planning team who author the reports, and take away the suggestion that as part of the context and background to an application, if there have been similar applications with similar kinds of relief, I think that would be a helpful addition to the reporting. And then we do monitor the bylaw and the applications every year when we're thinking about what housekeeping amendments we want to bring forward. And so I'm confident the team is watching for those. And when they see a repeating pattern of a bylaw requirement that isn't necessarily accomplishing a planning objective, that they will incorporate those into housekeeping amendments.
Councillor Stack.
Thank you. And then I'll ask what I sort of typically always ask. If we're doing that review, can we just be assured or get some sort of review to make sure that the same requests are being approved in Port as they are in Southampton? I think that's the other thing I'd like to see as well. Thanks.
Okay. Are there further questions or comments from members on this? I guess questions at this point, because I haven't closed the public meeting. All right, I don't see any questions, so I'm going to then proceed to declare the public meeting to be closed. And we will consider the resolution. And the resolution is that, subject to a review of submissions arising from the public meeting, that council approves zoning bylaw amendment Z-2025-017 for Getz and bylaw 80-2025. Is there a mover and seconder for the resolution? Moved by the Vice Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Mayette. Discussion, the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I really appreciate that Mr. Getz made a comment about his interest in landscaping and that sort of thing. And despite the fact that there aren't sidewalks on Market Street in this location, it is a front yard, and it would be really nice if that could be landscaped with at least a couple of quote unquote street trees planted in the right location that I think might maybe encourage a little bit more of that along that stretch, because it's definitely an opportunity there. I did want to just also comment about Mr. Arbuckle's comment about privacy. Where I live in Southampton is commercial core. We can build right out to the lot line there, but I live next door to a 6-foot high fence. Our property is higher, and we can see right out the windows, right into the backyard next door, and it definitely does impact privacy. So whatever landscaping or buffering opportunity exists, I really hope that Mr. Getz explores it and does their best to mitigate some of that. I would suggest that if town staff are aware of some other projects that had similar sorts of situations, if they could suggest perhaps some places where some opportunities were taken and have provided a bit of privacy or a buffer, that perhaps they become, ones that you go take a look at. I'll mention the build that happened at the corner of Palmerston and Victoria Street in Southampton, across from the fire hall, across from Jubilee Park. It's a fourplex, I think, but it was going to very much impede the privacy of an older home right next to it. But some older trees were preserved. Now, I realize that's not probably possible here, but some older trees were preserved, a fence was installed, and some other small elements were included in the design, which I think if you were to look at it now, a couple years later, it definitely is a bit more than people thought it would be in terms of a buffer. So I would just encourage that, but particularly along Market Street, I really hope that, you can get something nice planted in their trees, hopefully, two possibly, and maybe spark a little bit of rejuvenation of that street from the other property owners there. And again, despite no sidewalk there, if you position them properly, when the sidewalk comes, if it ever comes, there'll be a great street trees at the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there further comments, Vice Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to thank Mr. Gates for this development. We do encourage infilling. This is 6 units we put out in the market for rentals, which I think is very valuable for our community. And another sizable investment by Mr. Gates, which I think is great, and it exceeds the landscaping open space by 14%. But I hope he is listening, and I'm sure he is. That keep in mind the neighbors. I just think that Mr. Getz needs to do is just a bang up job on landscaping and add whatever you can to provide some buffering for those residents. And other than that, I think this is a great development, but I know he's listening, and that landscaping will be of utmost importance.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to just highlight the points that were raised by Ron and about the driveway width. And I think they're right. And Mr. Getz, being in the driveway pouring business, knows more than most about the rules around driveway widths. And so I think they brought a good point up, that the bylaw is indeed ripe for review. Some of the new developments, especially when you get into the larger homes where you've got double wide driveways and things, the current laws are a little bit out of touch with the current the way things are done, and this is a good example of that. So thanks for bringing it up, and I think the development is good. I'm going to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? I think that driveway question is a good one. I think that's a matter of the fact that we've amended the bylaw quite a bit to enable development like this, and we just have to iron out some of the kinks that are left over. It's hard to consider all of the different things when you're amending the bylaws in the way that we have. So I think that's, I'm sure, noted, and hopefully it will be a housekeeping revision that we'll see come back. I certainly support the application. I think it's good to see this kind of infill and intensification in this part of Port Elgin. It's a great part of Port Elgin to build a building like this. Lots of sort of, you see, if I'm just looking at the zoning map, lots of R3. This whole area is zoned R2, but there's lots of R3 nearby. Pretty good access to like Eastwood Park right there, and pretty good access to downtown. I mean, it's the kind of place where you want to have some apartments. So, and also it comes with the extension of Ruby Street, the connection of Ruby Street, which is something that is nice to see and been a long time coming. And so I think that's a real bonus for the municipality as well. So anyway, I think it's a good development, and certainly pleased to support it. And I would also just add my voice to encouraging the applicant, as I know he will, to look at that, to plant some nice trees around the perimeter of that thing, and try to do his very best to put screening in. And it's not just about screening, and trees are just nice anyway. Make the place look nicer, and everybody will want to live there. So it's good for everybody. Anyway, all right. So if nothing further, you've heard the resolution. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? That is carried. Okay. So now we're on to our final public meeting. Just switch it here. Okay. So now we're on to a public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment Z 2024-058 for Ackert. This is a public meeting under the Planning Act. If anyone from the public is interested in this application or wishes to receive a notice of the decision, please send an email to bcplpe@brucecounty.on.ca. First, we will receive a report from planning staff. Then council members will have an opportunity to ask questions, and I will ask them to reserve their comments on the application until we've heard from the public. Then we will hear from the public who are here in person, virtually, or who have submitted correspondence to the email address cited above. I've just realized that the way that this is written is not the way that we do this. The council members will ask questions after all of this, not before the public. I've read that twice now and it's only just occurred to me. So apologies for that. Members of the public are advised that the right to appeal the decision on this application is limited to specified persons and public bodies as defined in the Planning Act, or the owner or applicant of the land subject to the amendment who have provided oral or written comments to council on the application before the decision is made. After we've heard from the public, council will discuss and consider a recommendation on this application. So I'll now declare the public meeting to be open and ask the planner on the file to present the application. I think we're back to Karina Smith. Karina.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Charbonneau. So the subject lands are located at 1891 Bruce Road 33, specifically looking at the east side of the county road. The applicant is looking to rezone this parcel from planned development to residential first density with special provisions. Those special provisions relate to the stormwater management servicing, which the applicant has provided a stormwater management report in support of their applications, which is indicated for the proposed lots to be created. And there are 5 lots to be created for a total of 6 lots. Those lots would be include a stormwater management infiltration facilities on those lots to ensure that pre-development drainage is met in the post-development condition. The zoning bylaw amendment special provisions also include and identify that these lands are serviced with municipal water, but they currently are not serviced with municipal sewage servicing. And so each proposed lot will have its own private septic system. Those septic systems typically are located in the rear yard, but the zoning bylaw provisions do indicate that if the septic system were to be located in the front yard, they could reduce the side yard setback, which is typically 3 meters if the septic system is included in the rear yard, just to allow for maintenance and replacement of that system should it be required. We did receive comments from various agencies and one comment from a member of the public who had expressed some concerns with stormwater management in the area more broadly. Those comments have been shared both with county transportation services as well as town staff. Both the town and the county are satisfied with the stormwater management plan that's proposed on these proposed parcels. And we will take those comments into consideration for future planning for larger exercises in that area, including the county road realignment to the south. I don't have much further to add, but I'm happy to answer any questions should there be any. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Karina. All right, so now we'll hear from members of the public. First is the agent or applicant. The applicant or agent here, and I see the agent for the applicant coming up, so make sure to state your name for the record.
Good evening, thank you. Steve Cobain with Cobite Engineering. And unfortunately, our planner, Ms. Dana Kiefer, is not able to be here tonight. She is, I guess, the planner on the file and representing the applicants who are here, both Jeff and Tracy Ackard. I'm not going to add anything else to Ms. Smith's report. It was a great report. I just want to acknowledge that the applicants have reviewed the report. Us as the agent have reviewed the report. The applicants have reviewed the report, and we're both in agreement with the conclusions of it. So we have nothing further to add. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So now I'll ask if anyone else from the public is here to speak in support of the application or with questions, concerns, or objections. I don't see anybody from the public wishing to speak. Is there anybody online or any written submissions that have not already been discussed?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there is nobody else online and there were no additional written submissions.
Very good, thank you. So now I'll ask if any council members have questions before we close the public meeting and discuss the application. I'll start with the deputy mayor and work our way around.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On one of the drawings, there's an indication of the proposed relocation of a road, and it seems to be very close to the corner of one of the properties. Is there anything that should be thought about in advance to just make sure that nothing happens in that location that would be impacted by the potential relocation of the road since it's already marked on a map? It just looks very close in the drawing. Has that been taken into account? Is there anything that would impact that one particular lot in particular?
Planner?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mayor Charbonneau. We did circulate to county transportation and they did review it. They had no concerns with that. There's no further consideration that would be needed for what's identified as part 6 or lot 6 in that regard.
Okay, we'll get Councillor Davinsky and then Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, I had the same question. But another question I have with this proposed realignment is, do we have a time frame on this at all as to when this realignment of Road 33 will take place?
I think it's sort of outside the context of the planning application. I can speak from the standpoint of Bruce County that it's in the works, but I don't think there's a definite time frame yet for the actual work. There's a fair bit of work left to do before we're to the point of actually doing that construction.
So it's going to be a while.
I would suggest it'll be a matter of years.
Okay, I don't have to worry about it. Bruce County Road 33 will then continue as such. I assume that's where the addresses will be, the front doors will be then, is that correct?
Planner?
Thank you for the question. I can't speak to what will happen with Bruce Road 33 and the addressing once that realignment does happen. I'm not sure if town staff have any indication on that, but that would need to be taken into consideration as part of the realignment work for these remaining parcels, not only these 6 lots, but the adjacent properties to the north as well.
Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess this question is for the applicant or his agent. It's about the trees at the front of the property. As you drive along 33, there's a line of really lovely old trees. At least they look lovely. I'm just wondering if there's anything that can be done to save some of the trees, or if you have any information about the condition of the trees that might be relevant. I know it's not really within our area, but.
Fair enough. The agent for the applicant.
Thank you. I'm actually not sure. That's a good question. Those are quite old maples, I guess, and I've seen them. And I'm not even sure if they're on the road allowance or not. So I don't know. Jeff? Yeah.
Yep, come on up. The applicant, Mr. Ackert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Jeff Ackert, the applicant. So there's a row of trees along there. I'm not sure whether they are on public property or on the private side. I believe there's 4 trees that are in very bad shape. If you stop and go along there, there's a couple that limbs are off and they're actually resting on the next tree. The bulk of them can stay, but there are some that are a very big hazard even right now that we need to look into for a safety standpoint. Somebody walking by on the road or whatever. So.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that.
Okay.
Any further questions or comments? I have a question for the planner. I support the application, but I do wonder, so like this whole area is zone plan development, right? And the purpose of plan development is to enable comprehensive development of these areas. And so we've done a couple of these now in this area, right? On Bruce Road 25, we hived off a new lot not very long ago, right down on the, it's actually the one there right across from the CAW, not far down from the CAW. And then now we're going to hive off these ones here. And I just wonder, like, how do we justify hiving off pieces of planned development when we state specifically in the zoning bylaw that these lands are supposed to be developed comprehensively, not piecemeal?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Charbonneau. So we did take that into consideration in reviewing this application in the context of the surrounding lands. So this parcel is relatively small compared to some of the other lands that are zoned planned development. We did look at, have we maximized what would be the potential development on this particular property? Looking at it in terms of the existing servicing, which is municipal water, but each lot will have private septic. So those parcels did need to be of a certain size to allow for that development to occur. But in terms of that sewage servicing as well, it was also noted that extension of municipal sewage servicing to this area is not anticipated in the short term either. And so this was considered a minor extension of the existing developed area, continuing the lot fabric of those lots that are currently to the north on Bruce Road 33. In terms of other development in that larger planned development zone, certainly we would look at what is the current servicing, what is the planned servicing, how quickly will that be brought in, whether it's fronting on Bruce Road 33 or Bruce Road 25, which has closer access to some of the servicing options that are available as well, and just the size of the parcel in relation to some of those other lands as well.
Okay, because if you, like, for example, the question of servicing, right? Like, it's not serviced and we don't have any plan to service it, but somebody shows up and wants to do a subdivision there, it's going to get serviced, right? That's going to be like, they'll have to run sewers across the road to develop, like, it's a huge piece of planned development, right? Like, that goes all the way down to the Gore Drain and all the way up to Bruce Road 33. It's, what is it, 200 acres maybe, like, or 100 acres? Anyway, it's a big chunk of property. So I guess, again, like, so I can see that. So what we're going to call this is a minor extension of the, but like, do you anticipate, because part of the issue, part of the concern I have here is that, like, because it's not serviced today, you end up building very large lots. Like, we eat up a lot of this property with big lots that this is not really rural. It looks rural today, but it's part of the settlement area of Port Elgin. Like, it's going to need to be developed more intensively because we don't want to have to continue to extend the settlement area of Port Elgin into the rest of that agricultural land, right? So I just worry about where it stops, I guess. Like, at what point do we say, you can't do any more of this? This land has to be developed comprehensively as part of subdivisions. Like, where do we draw? Is it that we're going to permit like a minor extensions all the way up 33 and then stop, or all the way down 25 and then stop, or like what? Because we'll do this here and then there could be another minor extension further to the south, right? And until we've developed the whole length of 25 with great big single family lots, and we've eaten up a bunch of the settlement area in a way that in the future we might regret, right?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Charbonneau, and those are great points, and we did take those into consideration. This, like I said earlier, this parcel is of a certain size, and so we did look at maximizing what the available density could be on this parcel given the servicing currently. We are also noting that any development kind of south of County Road 25, and at some point when municipal sewage servicing is brought to this location, those lots will be required to tie into that servicing as well. And then there may be opportunities for additional residential units and things like that, which could be accommodated on full municipal services.
Okay, thank you for those answers. Councillor Helbin.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I was thinking along the same way, and just that an average lot in town today is 465 square meters, and these lots are 4,000 or 2,000 to 4,000 square meters. So on those biggest lots, they could be 9 lots. And like, this is the exact opposite of the last issue that we looked at with the high density. And this is an example of the complete opposite, lowest possible density, and the type of housing that we don't really need right now. I'm not doubting that people wouldn't buy it or like to have that, but it's not the housing that we're looking for. And it is awful tough on land use. So my thoughts.
Okay, yeah, we'll take comments after. So if there's questions at this point, and then I'll read the resolution, I'll close the public meeting, we'll take final comments. Anything, the Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. The intention is to rezone these to R1. That's correct, right?
Yes, the planner confirms it's correct.
Yes, that's correct.
That would enable a number of different opportunities per lot contingent upon the size of the septic? That's a question.
Yes, thank you through you, Mayor Charbonneau. So the current zoning provisions allow for a single-family home on a private lot that's up to 4,000, just over 4,000 square meters. In this case, the applicant has provided the nitrate study to demonstrate that they could have slightly smaller lots for single-family dwelling purposes on a conventional septic system for each individual lot. So they've maximized the density on the parcel with the servicing that's available.
So the provincial eligibility for R1 to mean a lot more than just one unit does not apply here because of the septic? Okay, thank you.
Okay, further questions, I should say, further questions at this point? Vice Deputy Mayor?
So are you saying, through you to the planner, that with R1 residential on septic, that they would not be permitted to house secondary dwelling suites? Is that what you're saying? That you're only allowed to build one house on that lot? Is that what you're saying, that there shall be no secondary dwelling suites on those lots?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Charbonneau. So that is correct. That's the way the current zoning bylaw is written. And that's actually a special provision R1-2. So any lot that is in the R1-2 is permitted to have a single family dwelling because it's only on partial servicing. And so the minimum lot size, if they were to have or want to pursue an additional dwelling unit on the parcel, the minimum lot size would be just over 4,000 square meters, or they could provide a study to demonstrate that the septic servicing on that lot could accommodate an additional unit.
So the developer could come in with a plan if they wanted more than one unit on that site with secondary dwelling. They could come in with a new septic plan, is what you're saying. So oversized or one septic bed per resident. So what you're saying, that they could come back and ask for an amendment, like ask for relief, seeing that they would build a septic system that would house two houses. Is that what you're saying? They could come back? Okay.
Okay, are there further questions for the planner or for the applicant? I don't see any. So I will now declare the public meeting to be closed, and I'll read the resolution. And the resolution is that, subject to a review of submissions arising from the public meeting, that council approves zoning bylaw amendment Z-2024-058 for Ackert and bylaw 81-2025. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Mayat, seconded by Vice Deputy Mayor. Further discussion? The Deputy Mayor?
I just wanted to express support for the application. I do understand the comments that were made about density and the type of housing that we need. I think it's important to have a mix of opportunities in the community. And I do think that the creation of lots should cover a diversity of opportunities so that we attract a diverse population to come here. And so as much as, density matters, this particular location at the moment is kind of away from a lot of stuff that density we generally think it should be close to. So I think it's a nice extension of some single family lots across to where a road is going to curve. And that road curving would set up, not a limitation, but would definitely set up a confined space in behind what exists on Bruce Road 25 and Bruce Road 33. So I think this is a nice carving out of some land there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. I'm somewhat familiar with this property. I've spent time making hay on this property over the years. And I always thought it would be a good spot for this type of development. So I'm really in support of this. There is really a need for estate-sized lots in our community. I know some people that have been looking for years for a property where they can build a home and a shop and things like that. And it fits with what's in the area. So I think it's a really good, and I commend Mr. Ackert for taking the initiative and finally developing this piece. So I'll be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments, the Vice Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll be supporting as well. I think that mixed housing is important. I've been a huge supporter of, we've approved 600, 700, 800 apartment units in this community in the last couple of years. There's a lot of high density housing, like what Barry's Construction is doing in North End, South End. A lot of townhouses and a lot of high density housing, and I agree too. I think there's also a need for this kind of housing. I think we've done a very good job with bringing in the other types of housing, and so I think this is a good. I've driven by that property hundreds of times over the last 15 years, and I think those 6 lots will fit in there nicely. So just like to, I'll be supporting this application.
Thank you. Councillor Davinsky, and then help.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, I wonder if we should be seriously looking, as you have suggested, of putting in sewer and wastewater services to this lot while we can, rather than going septic. I support what's being done here. I agree with what everyone else has said about the larger homes. We have to remember there are people that want the larger homes, and more power to them. But I wonder, because this isn't rural anymore, as hard as we look at it, it isn't rural. And I think we need to support putting in regular services, municipal services that we have. I don't know how we go about that, but I throw that out there as a backup to what you had said, and maybe someone has an idea on how we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I don't doubt there'll be people that will want these lots and to buy them, but to me, it's the worst type of development we can be doing to conserve farmland, to conserve woodlands and everything like that. Where we could have 465 square meters, we're having up to 4,000 square meters. I don't think it's an efficient use of land. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further comments from members? It's like I said at the beginning, I don't oppose the application. I just am concerned. It's not really even about density. It's about the sort of the comprehensive development of the settlement area and making sure that we aren't developing the settlement area in a piecemeal way that won't make sense, or that doesn't maximize the use of what is a limited resource. So I think I can regard this one as a minor extension of the settlement area, or pardon me, a minor extension of the existing development along Bruce Road 33. But I guess my message is I don't want to see an awful lot more of this in this planned development area. Like, I don't want to see this pieced out anymore. We need to see, the next time we see planning applications for this piece of property, we need to see a comprehensive subdivision in here. And that's how we'll get this, the sewers and everything moved across there, is as part of a development, right? That's how that will happen. The town's not going to do that. A developer's going to do it at some point because they're going to get paid good money to do it. So I think that's what we need to have happen here, and not have a lot more piecemeal development in this part of the community. So anyway, I support the application with that minor caveat. So if there's any nothing further, I'll ask all in favor and opposed. That's carried. Okay, so that's the end of our public meetings, and we're on now to reports of municipal officers and committees. And 7.1, exemption from part lot control, B-2025-032 for Woodlands, and we'll turn that over to Candace Ham.
Thank you, Mayor Charbonneau. The exemption part lot control file was originally presented to council for consideration by County Senior Planner Karina Smith on June 16th. Based on the discussions that evening and the questions raised, it became apparent that staff needed to provide more background information, and council deferred the matter back to staff. I appreciate council giving staff the opportunity to present additional details on the planning process. The main consideration that I want to draw to council's attention is that the town will be receiving the utility walkway corridor that is the same size in width as the corridor from the previous approval, just at a location shifted slightly to the north. The draft approval that previously existed for these lands lapsed, and the developer was required to reapply. The new draft plan included the creation of 3 blocks adjacent to the lots that front onto Fenton Drive to account for the existing encroachments. The utility walkway corridor that is to be transferred to the town is 12.5 meters in width, was part of the new draft plan, but was shifted slightly to the north to account for the 3 new blocks. To make up for the difference, there were also slight reductions in the widths of the lots that were to the north of that utility walkway corridor. Condition number 6 of the conditions of draft approval, which is contained within the draft plan of subdivision approval attachment to my report, specifies that blocks 51, 52, and 53, which are the 3 strips of land, if not transferred to the adjacent landowner, would then be transferred to the town as open space. The intent of this wording is that the lands would only come to the town if the transfers to the adjacent landowners did not occur. This wording was to avoid remnant landlocked strips of land from being created, which is not good planning. The exemption from part lot control process will allow for the 3 blocks to transfer to the adjacent landowners and merge with their existing properties. The 12.5 meter utility corridor will transfer to the town as originally planned. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So the recommendation is that council adopt bylaw 63-2025 for exemption from part lot control, B 2025-032 for woodlands, and that it be forwarded to Bruce County for approval. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Mayette, seconded by Grace. I might just make a comment right off the bat. I appreciate staff's explanation and clarification from the last time that we discussed this. I think my great concern was that that council or that the municipality was being shortchanged in some way through a reduction in the amount of land we were getting, and it's been clarified to me that we were getting the same amount of land that we would have gotten that we had been promised in the original site plan. It's just been moved slightly. There's the original subdivision agreement, I should say. So I think that was my great concern, that the municipality be kept whole in the agreement, and I think we have been. So I think this is a good explanation and cleans up an issue. So I appreciate all the work that staff did to sort that out for us. Any further questions or comments from members? Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to say that I too appreciate the staff summary of the history of the application, as well as Ms. Kiefer's letter from COBIDE outlining the nature of and reason for the applications. So I also support moving ahead with the application.
Further comments or questions from members? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And finally, 7.2, Municipal Heritage Committee on 317 High Street recommendation. And the clerk? Oh, she's online.
Thank you.
The clerk.
Hello. Thank you through you, Mayor Charbonneau. On August 20th, as requested by council, the Municipal Heritage Committee did review the demolition request received by the property owners for 317 High Street. It was discussed at the meeting. They have come forward with a recommendation for council consideration. That council approved the demolition of the cabin and shed at 317 High Street, a heritage property designated under Ontario Heritage Act by Town of Southampton bylaw number 3021, and that the approval be subject to the condition that the original heritage home continue to be maintained and preserved. As stated in my original report, council has three options, which is to approve the application, to deny the application, or to approve the application for demolition, but with conditions. So if council has any further questions, be more than happy to assist. Councillor Grace, of course, serving as chair for the Municipal Heritage Committee, as well as the Vice Deputy Mayor, were also at the meeting as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So there is a resolution that council approved the demolition of the cabin and shed at 317 High Street, a heritage property designated under the Ontario Heritage Act by the town of Southampton, bylaw number 3021, and that the approval be subject to the condition that the original heritage home continue to be maintained and preserved. Is there a mover and seconder? By Grace, seconded by Halpin. Questions or comments? Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to reiterate that just because this is a heritage property and the entire property was in the original bylaw in 1990 designated as heritage. So just if anybody's watching and is concerned about this development, I just wanted to reiterate that the changes on the property consist of removing and replacing an addition to the original 1860s home. The addition was built in 1994, so it was not part of the original designation bylaw. And then what this application is dealing with is the demolition of a cabin and a shed, both of which were included in the original designation bylaw, but which are in very rough shape physically. The cabin is being rebuilt on the same basic design and footprint of the original, and our committee was appreciative of that. Our committee did want to and did place a condition, although it really didn't need to be there, but did place a condition that the original heritage home continue to be maintained and preserved. And that was really just to stress the committee's support for maintaining that 1860s home. And I'm sure that's the intent of the owners. So with that, the committee did recommend to council that they supported this application.
Thank you for that, and please pass along council's appreciation to the committee for their expeditious review of this matter. I know time was of the essence here, and so the committee's quick action is much appreciated. Is there further discussion on this matter? The Vice Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, the comment I wanted to make, I just wanted to thank the developer too, the contractor, and it's my understanding that the cabin that's being removed is going to be rebuilt. That's my understanding, and to a very similar, if not almost identical look, is what the existing cabin looks like. The height of the roof is, I think, is a foot taller, a foot or two taller, but the look of the cabin's going to look very, very similar, if not almost identical. So I think that's a good thing too.
Yeah, thank you. Further comments? Seeing none, you've heard the recommendation. It's moved and seconded. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Okay. So now we're down to bylaws. There are 4 bylaws there for consideration. Anyone want to have any of those considered separately? Seeing no request for that, the resolution is that bylaw 79-2025, 80-2025, 81-2025, and 63-2025 are hereby read, passed, and sealed this 25th day of August, 2025. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Duhaime, seconded by Grace. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. All right, and then we're on to the confirmatory bylaw. The resolution is that bylaw 82-2025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read, passed, and sealed this 25th day of August, 2025. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Grace. All in favor? That's carried. And finally, the resolution is that this regular council meeting of August 25th, 2025 hereby adjourns at 7:44 p.m. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Halpin, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Council stands adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody.